I feel like now we're at a time of crisis in the world between all of the events that have gone on, and just in the last 3 years, like just think about how many, let's even go back as far as a decade. Um, with the 2008 financial crisis, we knew that that was caused by irresponsible banks and just these horrendously over leveraged positions, and also entities that were loaning out money and just reinforcing this whole culture of this whole debt culture in order to make more and more profit. And that's so morally reprehensible, and there were no consequences for that. Fast forward to 2014, and the same thing happened. The same thing happened in the stock market and the housing market as a result of the recession that occurred in the wake of having to pay for all of those debts from God the budget deficit. And we've revisited this budget deficit like 3 times in the past 2 decades, and we just keep raising the ceiling, again, reinforcing debt culture. And now the bill has gotten so large that we as a nation cannot even hope to pay for it. And at the same time, these extremely irresponsible financial institutions, these politicians who are trading on information that they have access to, making themselves rich off of the policies that they vote on, and there's no recourse, there's no accountability for any of that. That has to change. We can't operate as a society that way. Society works because everybody agrees on a set of moral rules and codes and ethics. If we let this continue, then we give up society as we know it and as we have known it for the last 100 years. And this is the time, this is the moment where we as the basically the 99%, but those of us who are both in a position and have the capability and the intelligence to understand how these devices and how this market is used to control and and diminish the power of average people in society, and push a narrative and push propaganda, limit access to education, resources, and financial growth, is all a method of exerting control. And if we allow it to continue, if we don't educate ourselves, if we don't do something to change it, then eventually the system will break down to the point where everybody loses. And that's the short sightedness of Wall Street and Congress and all of these other irresponsible bigwigs at the top that don't realize is that you need a functioning society for you to stay on top as you are. If you were actually looking forward to the future and you wanted to keep this society operating and stay on the top of it, then you need to have people who are willing to like grow crops. You need plumbers, you need carpenters, you need construction workers, you need road workers, you need all of that. Society cannot function if people can no longer make a sustainable living doing those jobs, and their effort to control and get more money leaves them with only one option, and that is to force people into a position of forced indentured servitude. And that's the road we're now moving on, because people can't even afford to pay for rent, food, or anything else, and money is beginning to lose its meaning. So, what happens if we actually, as a society, just realize that money has no meaning anymore, that it doesn't matter because we're fucked anyway? It would literally collapse society. And it's important for everybody to educate themselves on this market this and how this system works, because it is being used against average working people. This is this is what caused the financial crash of 2008. This is what caused the 2014 recession. This is what caused this is what caused oil to rise to or gas prices to rise to $5 a gallon. All of it. All these games that get played all the time. Sorry
That's
for the
one
rant that
thing.
kind of went to nowhere, but
Oh no, it's it's not going to nowhere. It's pointing out the major flaw in what they're doing. That's the one thing that has confused the hell out of me from the get go. Is like, okay, would you rather live in a world where you're surrounded by suffering and people who frankly hate you, or would you rather kind of live in a place where you're surrounded by happiness and it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense, and I can't help but feel it's somewhat to do with this illusion of control that they think that they have and that they continue to have. But I mean, did they not learn anything from the French Revolution?
I
I
ask
mean,
myself that all the
seriously,
time. Hey, Joe
God.
Miami, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Joe Miami says, well said. People need to stop voting in all the corrupt politicians with rules for thee and not for me. Those politicians are the ones allowing the corruption on Wall Street. Prague looking good. Thanks very much. And yes, I agree. It needs to go a little bit further than just not voting for them. Like we need to put politicians into a position where there needs to be fundamental change in how it operates. The whole reason why we're in this position is that there's been a malaise and just lackadaisical attitude about politics. And although, you know, people don't like to be offended, but I'm sorry, like that's life. Life is going to offend you, and politics are going to offend you, and that's important. You should be offended by politics because your offense to these things are what cause change to happen for the better in society. If you are not offended by something in life, or if you are not upset by the way things are, then you will never do anything to change things for the better. If you are not upset by something, if your world is so idealistic that you see nothing wrong with it, then there is something wrong with you. There are plenty of things to fix on this planet. There are plenty of things wrong with our society that need to be addressed, that needs to be understood by everybody. And I was once very cynical, not even so long ago. I was once very cynical about politics. And I was like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to argue about it. And I don't want to even think about it. But you know what? That's an irresponsible attitude. And I decided that I need to be accountable to myself and to my neighbors because if I don't care about politics and if I don't care to have those arguments and lean into those conflicts that arise from it, then I'm not doing anything to fulfill my role as a member of this society. Everybody needs to embrace that they have a responsibility to themselves, to their families, and to each other as human beings. We are responsible to each other to always fight for an ideal. Even if the ideal is out of our reach in our lifetime, even if it may be out of the reach of the lifetimes of our grandchildren. It is an ideal that you must fight for and you must approach logically, analytically, and intelligently. It must be something that matters to you and it must be something that one day can be attained that will uplift us as a society because that's the only way forward. If you are not growing, if society is not growing and we are not moving forward in a positive way, then eventually we're going to be an extinct species on a dying planet that will be forgotten in the cosmos. And I don't know, aliens that have eventually achieved interstellar travel will visit this planet and it'll just be an archaeological site.
It'll be a cosmic meme.
It'll be a cosmic meme. We will be nothing more than a cosmic meme and easily forgotten, just like all the other ones.